it's going to be a shadow, I think, that hangs over our industry for a long time, because people are going to be legitimately wary of coming out to shows, even after we get to a point where, it's generally considered safe to come out to shows again. It's going to be, there's going to be an adjustment period where people are going to, are going to be rightfully concerned about the notion of sitting in a theater with, 2,000 other people and going out to see a band.
Hey, listen, you don't have to sell me on that. I know, because not just because I do this program, but for fun. I mean, one of my go-to activities was going to see shows. I mean, there were times when I would go out 5 nights a week to see music. I mean, hear music, see music, just be in the atmosphere around music. I love doing that. I mean, I used to see you at shows all the time, especially when you were in the Philly area. I mean, you played
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of people that I really, really like. And, not just them, there are so many shows now and so many bands that the one good thing about this, I'll say one good thing about the lockdown has been I've been introduced to new music simply because I have time on my hands. I hope I'm putting it to good use by researching new bands and new to me bands.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like one plus. All the minuses are I can't see these bands perform. In fact, when I see a band that I like, I'm not even bashful about it anymore. Not that I was ever really bashful. I talk too much and I got too many opinions to be bashful, but if I see a band online that I like, I immediately contact them and say, "Hey, do you want to come on, you know, and just do this show? Just talk about your music. Just talk about what you do. Play some music or give me some music to play because you're not getting out. Let me help you get out." And that's been my one plus from all this. Everything else has been a negative. I can't imagine what it feels like to be in that position that you're in, that every other band that I've met during this lockdown is in. I mean, some of them are allowing their creative juices to take them in different directions, and I find that exciting. But I'd like to see that eventually, and I'd like to hear that eventually with, you know, 20, 30, 40, 100 people around me. I want more people. And you're right. At the same time, I'm worried about going to shows. I mean, I'm at risk. I mean, I happen to fall into a category where they have comorbidities, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
that I can't. I even if like one of my favorite bands would say, you know what, we're going to play a socially distant concert anyway. It's going to be in this theater, but there's going to be 3 seats between everybody, and it's like I would never do it. I wouldn't go. I'd be afraid to go, and that's a shame.
Well, and that's a valid point, because that's part of that shadow that I was talking about that's going to hang over all this for some time to come, is the fact that, you know even when it does resume, it's not going to be the experience that we knew it to be, before all this. um and I mean, there's obviously there's some things to celebrate about the notion of being able to go back out and play again. And I know that, some friends of mine have done, like backyard concerts where they'll have people come out and sit on a blanket, and it's not dissimilar to, some of the summer concert series that I've played historically up in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, with some of the other artists I've worked with. But just the whole notion that, like, you can't, pick up a bag of potato chips and go sit down on the blanket over here where your friends are and have a conversation with them, as part of that experience, that perpetual fear of, you can't greet people at the merch table with a hug anymore. You have to, there's all of these things that you have to take into consideration under the blanket that we're under right now. It's not going to be the same experience as it was for some time until we get this thing under control.
No, the communal
And
experience is totally gone, at least for the moment. And that that I miss. I've been missing that. I think more than anything. I've really, really been missing that more than everything.
well, and we were talking a bit, before we actually, started talking about, the fact that you and I are roughly the same age. And, we came up in a time when, we didn't have Xbox, we didn't have PlayStation, we didn't have cable, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have, we didn't even have, Yeah, and I know I sound like the old man, who walked 10 miles to school uphill both ways in the snow, but there were so many things that people use to satiate their attention span now that did not exist then. So what did you do? You went out to shows. You went to movies or you went to shows with your friends. That was your social media.
Not
Going to see a band was your social media. That's what you did to discover new music. So you experienced a lot of the music that you heard growing up for the first time in a room with a bunch of other people as it was being played. And it's not having that is a loss.
it's not even the live stuff, because I can remember probably starting when I was around 12, maybe 13. Uh, if one of my core group of friends would get a new album, like somebody bought like the new Jethro Tull album, well, everybody went over to his house. Everybody we
Mhm.
had to listen to it at the same time, and it was a communal experience there in somebody's house. And that's how the music also was not just absorbed, but enjoyed and discovered all at once. And it was the live experience. It was listening to the album. It was flipping the album over and saying, "Hey, no, don't do that yet. Let's hear that last track again." And it was all that. Love doing that. And I
Well, that's
really
how you formed your friendships, because I mean, when you were 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, live shows weren't really an option for you yet, unless you bought a ticket for a show, an arena or an auditorium or something like that. So yeah, the friends that I gravitated to in junior high and high school, it was all based on, commonalities in terms of our taste in music. Um, because I didn't really care about anything else. When I discovered music, everything else kind of fell away. Comic books fell away, sports fell away. That was all I cared about from 13 until what time is it? It's that was it for me. I didn't really date in junior high or high school. For reasons that had nothing to do with music as well, I'm sure. But I wasn't. I wasn't chasing girls for, inane reasons. I was, just immersed in, if I wasn't listening to the radio, I was listening to the records I owned. I was writing down lyrics of, songs that, I had recorded off the radio. It was all there was.
Yeah, I used to do that too. I had an 8-track player, and I would just put it in at night, and whoever the overnight DJ was, they would be playing songs that I knew I would love when I listened to it the next day. And of course, in
Mm-hmm.
the middle of the song, Dire Straits, Sultans of Swing, I can remember this. It's so vivid. I loved the song. And then in the middle of the 8-track, it would like click to the next track. And it's like, well, what just happened there now?
And I bet to this day, every time you hear that song, you anticipate that click at the very spot where it came up.
Yep, that absolutely true. That and
Mm-hmm.
a best of Jethro Tull. There was obviously I'm a Tull fan. I brought him up twice already, but I every time I hear "My God," and I expect the track to click, and to this day, and that was 42 or 43 years ago. I mean, it's just amazing.
Okay, so here's the other thing I bet you did, because I still do this. It's a similar anticipatory quirk, but it's a different thing. So when you graduated to mixtapes and you started using cassettes,
Mhm.
and you ran out of space on one of the sides and the song ended prematurely, do you still hear that abrupt ending on specific songs that you put on mixtapes?
The funny thing is, I don't hear that, but I do hear the Doors having a skip on "Light My Fire," the best of the Doors, and I anticipate the skip, that I had on an album 40 years ago. But it's like it's ingrained somehow. It was wired into my brain, and it remains.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually part of the song to me now. It's like there's like a tiny little skip, and it's still in there, and I still hear it.